Between 2018 and 2022, testosterone therapy prevalence increased 120% among Americans under 24 years old and 86% among Americans aged 25 to 34. This is a growing trend. Total testosterone prescriptions for all ages in the US climbed from roughly 7.3 million in 2019 to more than 11 million in 2024. That's 51% in 5 years. That's a lot of men. Several armies worth, I'd say. My main concern is with those first two age groups, the men who are 34 and under. Also, I just want to say I'm not saying this to belittle anybody. I'm saying this out of compassion because it saddens me to see so many young men willingly trade agency of such a crucial function. It's like watching all your bros just go down to the doctor with their nuts in a sack and saying, yo, hey doc, you could have these, just give me a prescription. And they're resorting to this before really giving it a crack at trying to train, eat, and sleep right. And it worries me because now their balls are at the mercy of the testosterone supply chain. Yeah, everybody's just so eager to hop on so nonchalantly. What I'm talking about is the growing normalization of testosterone as a lifestyle product. It's getting promoted as casually as creatine or something, when in reality, it's literally outsourcing a biological function, a function that's supposed to be operating pretty efficiently for those age groups. I'm not saying modern life and its endocrine disruptors don't impact testosterone production, but plenty of dudes are still getting huge without TRT. Additionally, athletes of the past weren't free from environmental toxins. They lived around lead, asbestos, industrial pollution, and poor workplace safety standards, yet they still built physiques that many people today would accuse of being enhanced. Just look at some of the silver and bronze era physiques from guys like Steve Reeves and Eugene Sandel. Simple things like training, diet, and recovery are all you need to make your nuts make enough tea to give you the physique that you want, that most people want at least. You need to realize that natural testosterone production is like a proxy for doing those things right. And by virtue of getting on TRT, especially as a beginner, you're likely not developing the appropriate habits and behaviors that result in more testosterone and the physique that often accompanies it. Being natural is a flex because it's a result of effective training. And yet when you go on social media, it's flooded with so much TRT cope, with people saying things like, oh, it doesn't matter and you can't prove it anyway. The bar has fallen so low that anyone with significant muscle mass and leanness get accused of being enhanced. Young men are hopping on TRT to look natural and justifying it with a it doesn't matter mindset. Well, it does matter. When you're natural, you're just relying on yourself. When you're relying on TRT, you're actually relying on suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, and policymakers that don't care about you. In case you're unaware, you can't just stop taking testosterone and expect everything to go back to normal. When you introduce external testosterone, your body's natural production is suppressed. If you come off, recovery can take months, sometimes longer, and some men require additional drugs in an attempt to restart normal hormone production. The consequences could include things like low energy, low libido, erectile dysfunction. That's enough, to make me not want to do it. But depressed mood, difficulty concentrating. Do you need any more? But sure, that stuff doesn't matter, right? By getting on TRT, you're trading your balls for a prescription, and that prescription is susceptible to economic, political, and even legislative risks. And let's not forget what Hesh told Tony when he couldn't get Shlomo to cooperate. Today, I'm going to talk about the supply chain of TRT and different risks involved with that chain. At this point in the video, I want to say I'm aware of the genuine uses for TRT, and I'm sympathetic to people that actually need it. Whether it's reduced endogenous production as a result of TBI, other injury, age-related, hazardous material exposure, or even hard lifestyles that impact your ability to produce testosterone, I understand that, and I hope you get your tea. But here, I'm griping about perfectly normal young men who want to give their nuts to Pfizer before actually living a lifestyle that compels their little gonads to make testosterone. In the first quarter of 2024, the US hit a record of 323 active drug shortages, the highest number ever recorded. Testosterone products have not been immune. As recently as 2025, the American Society of Health System Pharmacists reported shortages affecting multiple testosterone cypionate manufacturers. I don't know how to say it. Pfizer cited manufacturing delays. UGA reported products on intermittent back order. In some cases, manufacturers could not even provide an estimated resupply date. Modern pharmaceutical supply chains are built for efficiency, not redundancy. Remember Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico in 2017 and caused a nationwide shortage of IV bags because that's where most of them were produced? Well, think of a similar catastrophe as that, but instead of your IV bags getting cut off, it's your tea bags. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see how this system has a lot of vulnerabilities in it. And at the end of the day, these systems are designed to be profitable, and redundancies and fail-safes are not always the most profitable thing. Because so many pharmaceutical companies rely on Indian and European facilities for these active ingredients, disruptions to exports, manufacturing capacity, or trade relationships could ripple through multiple testosterone supply chains at the same time. The supply chain also depends on Chinese-produced steroid intermediates, the chemical building blocks used to manufacture many hormone-based pharmaceuticals, Even when API production occurs elsewhere, disruptions to Chinese chemical manufacturing, exports, or shipping networks can create downstream shortages throughout the industry. And even if the raw materials and APIs remain available, testosterone products still must pass through a limited number of FDA-compliant sterile injectable manufacturing facilities. Historically, pharmaceutical shortages are often caused not by lack of ingredients, but by manufacturing quality issues, regulatory actions, or production disruptions at these highly specialized facilities. Look, I'm not saying that the TRT market is 100% flawed and that castration is imminent. I'm sure there's some fail-safes to protect the supply chain from political, economic, or other threats, but let's not overlook the fact that by outsourcing the function of your manhood, you are susceptible to these risks. Additionally, look at those mafia shows and movies, dude. You get them by the balls and they'll do anything. Funny to me that this normalization is targeting fighting aged men. Once you're hooked, you're easy to coerce into compliance. Which brings me back to my point. Before you consider TRT, carefully assess the effort you've put into your diet, your training, and recovery thus far. Consider getting a coach. TRT should be a last resort. Dudes are still getting jacked naturally, and they didn't grow up in a bubble free from microplastics, pesticides, polyester. Just do what you can to eliminate those things from now on. Hit training hard. Your balls depend on it.